Gibraltar has always been built on hard work, resilience, and entrepreneurship. From family-run businesses to modern startups, local entrepreneurs continue to shape the Rock's economy and community. Behind every successful business is a personal story of sacrifice, determination, risk, and passion. Talking Business explores the people behind the businesses and the journeys that brought them to success. Fitness has evolved into a global lifestyle industry driven by technology, wellness, and consumer demand for healthier living. Wellness is now a multi-billion global industry, and membership-based wellness businesses are expected to grow significantly through 2026 and beyond, proving that health and well-being are no longer just personal priorities, but major drivers of global business growth and investment. Today on Talking Business, I'm joined by a person who bought a bankrupt squash club in Bournemouth and transformed it into the biggest chain of gyms in the world back in the 90s. Mike Balfour, nice to be speaking to you. 10 years ago, we met for the first time. You built an international business. How did that come about?
Well, I think basically I'm a chartered accountant by background, and really, I was also an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really know what to do. And eventually I was put on the board of a very large health club in Texas. And I really had never been to a health club before then. But I began to see what the Americans had done with health and fitness. And through working in the States, I sort of came across the idea of a low-cost fitness business, making fitness accessible to everybody.
Okay.
And that was really how the concept of Fitness First was born. We were the first low-cost providers of fitness in the UK and in parts of the rest of the world. And in those days, people said, it wouldn't work, it couldn't happen, because as fitness clubs, you needed swimming pools, you needed bars, you needed everything else. And we said, no, all we're going to do is provide excellent quality gyms, change rooms, and studios. And of course, it all took off. And that's exactly what the public wanted.
Yeah.
And we started in 1992, the bankrupt squash club. 4 years later, we had 5 clubs. Then we went on the public markets and AIM. We became publicly listed. And I think 10 years later, we went from 5 clubs to 550 in 21 countries across the world, 1.5 million members. And we were, as you said, at that point in time, the largest health club chain in the world. Not today, but at those days, it was the largest health club chain in the world.
Incredible. I mean, finding success like that in that short space of time really is something that not everybody can achieve. And I know you say that it was partly to do with getting lucky. In the 90s, there was a big trend towards the fitness side of, taking care of yourself. I'm interested in knowing more about the person, the discipline, the interest.
Well, I think we have to recognize that with every business, timing is really important. And it just so happened, maybe by luck, not by so much by judgment, but the timing of getting into the low-cost fitness business in around 1992 was just perfect. People were, as you said, more and more people were getting into exercise, were wanting places to exercise, and we simply provided those facilities at a cost that they could afford. And from then, also the other thing, of course, I always say is that hard work. We worked very hard. We were very disciplined, we were very financially disciplined, and hard work, good timing, and yeah.
I mean, you found this sort of entrepreneurial fire within you, and you were already 40, had a family, had a stable career. You took that risk. What was it that made you want to sort of put everything on the line and chase this dream?
Well, I think one of the things that happened to me in that age, going up to the age of 40, is I used to keep on getting fired from all the businesses I was in. In fact, I think I've been fired 6 times. Now, every time I was fired, I sort of went on to do something better. So it wasn't necessarily a bad thing to be fired. But there does come a time when you can't just keep getting fired.
Yes.
And I really wanted to start my own business. I wanted to start it in the fitness business. But eventually, of course, like many people, I was trying to start a business up whilst I was still working and still employed, had a family, expenses, etc., etc. And of course, they found out and I got fired.
Yeah.
So then suddenly I was out of job, the age of 40, family, mortgages, all the rest of it, no job, no work, no income, and a squash club that I had partially bought at that time. So it was all or nothing.
So what would you say have been the biggest struggles along the way, building up to the time when you were able to move your businesses into the next stage?
Well, I think with a lot of businesses, it's all about getting the business model right. As I say to people now, our first health club was not the Fitness First model. The first Fitness First club was really the second club.
Okay.
Because we perfected the model in the first club. But by perfecting the model, I mean, we very nearly went bankrupt after the first club. I mean, it was very, very close. The bank was wanting to foreclose on us. We just had to fight with everything we could to keep ourselves open and alive. But eventually we did. And eventually we became profitable. So
tell me a little bit about the way you sort of decided Gibraltar is the next place where I want to be at. Well, that was probably more by accident, because we sold the business back in 2006. And at that point I thought, well, I'll come down to Spain and do the what I call not retire, because I don't like the word retirement at all, but the do less program. Never happened.
And I did it for 2 months and I literally panicked.
Okay.
And I said, I'm not ready for this. I love work, I love business, I'm not very good at golf. So, I've got to go back. And so basically that's when I really moved to Gibraltar, because Gibraltar was such an active place. It wasn't London, but okay, much smaller, but nevertheless, it's also got the climate, which was very important to me. And so I came to Gibraltar. I happened to meet Greg Butcher on a plane one day. And by the time we landed in Gibraltar, I agreed to put a health club in Ocean Village.
Amazing.
And that became the first one. And because after that, you got one, you might as well do another. So we did one at Atlantic Suites and so on. And so really, in the time that I've been here, we built up a hospitality and leisure business, concentrating hopefully primarily on health and wellness and spas. And we've got E01, which is just a gorgeous spa. We've got Atlantic Suites, Health Club, Ocean Village, Eurocity, Sunborn, that's a E1 gym as well, and so on.
Yeah. I think for me, you are definitely a person who's transformed the fabric of the wellness industry in Gibraltar. How have you been able to go about building the right teams, finding people to bring to the industry? Because obviously, as you said, we're small. How has that come about?
We have lots of people actually like and enjoy working in the health and fitness industry. Yeah. So I think we, as I did in Fitness First, we built teams. We had 20,000 people working for us at Fitness First. And again, Gibraltar is now 150 people in the team, but they enjoy and they're passionate about what they do.
I mean, one of the things that we've discussed also is the fact that Gibraltar is a great place to come and retire, but it also has to be a place that embraces people at all levels. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on how we should continue to embrace people from different backgrounds who will make up Gibraltar's services as well as the community.
Yeah, well, I agree. In Gibraltar, we do need to attract people and attract the right people. And of course, there's a lot of people who want to come here, but I think the services that the Infinity Group provide are the services that make it more attractive for people to come to Gibraltar. It's all very well saying you've got property and you've got the sun, but people need the fitness business, they need the spas, They need the aesthetics business we've got and the wellness facilities that we provide. I think that that's of critical importance to attracting people to Gibraltar. And you can see by the latest wellness centre that we've just opened here, and we've just opened this really last week. And we created a membership scheme here so that people can join. It's free to join and you get lots of benefits. And already within 10 days of announcing it, we have over 800 local people who have joined the club, and it's growing every single day.
How do you feel the new way of living and working in Gibraltar with the treaty coming into effect is going to impact the way we do business?
Oh, I think it will impact us, and I think it will impact us for the best, because I think it will open up Gibraltar, which will, of course, makes Gibraltar that much more attractive place to live. But also, more people will come and visit Gibraltar, and quite rightly so, because the border is a deterrent, it's a hassle. And as soon as that border goes down, it will be part of Schengen, and I think it will just change the lives of the people in Gibraltar.
Do you feel that we'll be more exposed in ways that we were not before?
Yes, of course, because the border is sort of coveted Gibraltar to a certain extent, but that's okay, because you should be exposed. You've got to be exposed to the real world, and the real world is out there. And so yes, competition will change to a certain extent and things like that, but that's just bringing Gibraltar back into the real world.
So Mike, the key question now that you're here with me is, if anyone is thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think the first thing is you've got to be prepared to work hard. Virtually every entrepreneur that you'll meet will tell the story how they started up, and it's always they worked hard, they put everything behind them apart from work. Work became the most important thing they did, and they gradually hopefully get success with that. And the second thing is, of course, finances. Cash is king.
Yes.
There are many good businesses that fail because simply they run out of cash. So you've got to have tight financial controls. Spend as little as possible, get as much revenue as much as possible. But look after the cash. Run out of cash, as I say, many good businesses fail because they run out of cash. So financial controls are extremely important.
Something you told me, know your numbers.
Know your numbers. That's why I say to everybody, you need to know your numbers. You don't need to be an accountant, but you do need to understand numbers and understand what they mean.
My final question to all our guests is, Mike right now is?
Very content.
Okay.
I think as you get older in life, you do become more content, but it's true. I don't think I've probably been happier or more content with life at any point in time.
Well, that's a great way, very positive way to wrap up today's interview with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So to all our viewers, I hope you take some of the advice you heard today. Keep exercising, know your numbers, and I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Mike Balfour. Thank you. In today's world, technology and software development have become some of the most powerful forces driving global business growth. From mobile apps and digital finance to artificial intelligence and online services, tech companies are transforming the way people live, work, and communicate. What often begins as a simple idea can grow into an innovative business with global reach. Behind every successful tech company is a story of creativity, problem-solving, risk-taking, and determination, proving that in the digital age, innovation has become one of the most valuable commodities in business. So today on Talking Business, I've headed back to the boardroom to meet with Alex Capurro, CEO at TTSM. Alex, welcome to Talking Business. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Denise.
So we go back quite a long way, and you're now CEO of a established management services company. But tell me a little bit about your childhood and about your love for building things.
Well, I grew up in Gibraltar, as you know, and since I was probably 5 years old, I've always been interested in technology. It all started off when I saw my first video game console, which was a typical Pong black and white console back in the very early 80s. And it also stemmed from being very close to my uncle. Yeah, he used to have a Commodore 64 and he used to develop games for it with his neighbor in the Humphreys. So I was always fascinated to see how they would write code, so text on the screen and numbers and maths basically, and how that would become a game.
So you were exposed to that kind of thing with your family. Did you find the support there as well? Did they encourage that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, my dad definitely used to encourage me because he saw that there was something there. Literature in terms of coding was very limited, so I only had like a couple of books which came from Spain, so that made it harder because they were written in Spanish. But even so, my dad saw that I was able to navigate through the text and come up with my own games at a very early age. So he definitely encouraged me, and so did my uncle, obviously. So.
Yeah. So that love for tech, where did that take you?
It took me to university. I did a computer science degree, and then from university, it's taken me to various different jobs that I've had throughout my career, from the movie industry all the way to the payments industry, working for big payment companies and banks around the world, to now being the CEO of TTMS.
Right, so technology took you into the payments industry, and during that time you built quite a large company. I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about Easy Payment Gateway.
So Easy Payment Gateway was essentially a payment gateway, which is basically, in layman's terms, it's a platform that allows businesses around the world to connect to one platform, but then they have access to all the different payment solutions worldwide. So from credit card processing to bank transfers to paying with PayPal, that sort of thing. I launched that in 2014, and it was based on software that I had developed for myself, because I had a previous company before that, and I ended up doing a lot of development for different companies, so I needed to build something that would help me develop that.
Yeah.
And so we kicked that off in 2014. There was about 5 of us when I started. Then we went through various rounds of investments and whatnot, and by 2019, just when COVID started, we ended up being 150 employees around the world. So we had offices here in Gib, in Spain, the UK. We were about to launch in America, but we got acquired by one of the biggest banks in the world.
Okay, well, congratulations. That's a very nice ending to that part of the journey. But when people look at your particular, entrepreneurship journey and see the polished version, is that the reality of what it was actually like to build a successful company?
No, not at all. I mean, there's a lot of difficult times that you have to go through when you build a company from scratch. There's difficult decisions you have to make. For example, when you're faced with situations where perhaps you're not making as much money as you'd like to, or you need to, and you need to make people redundant, particularly people that have been working for you for a long time and from the beginning who have become all friends and employees. And there are a lot of difficult decisions that you need to make. There's a lot of time you need to be away from home and your family.
Yeah.
I always say that I literally missed the first 10 years of my daughter's life because I was traveling all over the world trying to sell the business. A lot of late nights, a lot of, in some cases months or years without actually getting paid as well.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, it's very satisfying.
But we're now moving into your next phase here at TTMS as the CEO. And I suppose your love for the startup and the tech is still there. What do you predict can be the next stage of what Gibraltar will look like in the next, say, decade?
It's difficult to say, especially with the treaty and the whole, frontier being removed and all that. And in fact, the discussion that we have regularly here at TTMS is the fact that we need, like I said before, we need to evolve and we need to adapt. And so I've said this before, it's very dangerous for a business to become stagnant and just do what they are currently doing.
Yes.
You need to look at every potential, and I say potential because we don't really know, but every potential opportunity that could exist because of this treaty, and trying to make the best of it. So one of the things that I saw here at TTMS was we have a department that deals with risk and compliance. And so I've now built technology and automation around risk and compliance. So we are now going to be able to offer those services externally, not just to companies in Gibraltar, but worldwide. So that's something that TTMS never did before, but we will now start to do. So that's an example of how I've adapted or evolved this business. So, but I do see more businesses from the outside slowly coming into Gibraltar. And I think Gibraltar businesses will also have to serve clients outside of Gibraltar more than what they do now.
So you've mentioned that you are diversifying what the TTMS model is. How do you think more businesses should be looking at adapting to try and open an international market to come to Gibraltar as a customer base rather than just attracting new businesses?
I think it's a question of you need to look at what you offer as a business and they see how you can adapt that so that A, it becomes more of an online business as well, or an online service. And see, like for example, we've been doing for the last year, we've been doing a lot of research on different countries around the world to see where there was potential opportunities for us to step in and say, hey, we can help you from Gibraltar. So that's what businesses need to do. So what are you offering right now and how can you offer that outside?
Yeah.
But that's not easy, especially if you're a brick and mortar business, for example. That's very difficult to do. But that's what needs to happen. We can't now just rely on businesses serving other businesses in Gibraltar, because just like we have access to the single market or the European market, that market has access to us now as well.
Yes.
Which means there'll be more competition. It'll be harder to get those clients because perhaps they can offer better pricing than what we can. And so that's why we need to adapt and evolve in terms of what we're offering and how we offer it.
Do you think that the Gibraltar product competitive edge needs to be rethought?
Absolutely. Like I said, we need to think outside of Gibraltar. And the best way to do that is to think online services. What can you offer to somebody who's not based in Gibraltar, who's based anywhere else in Europe? And that's what needs to happen. If we just stay focused on what we can offer here, then there's a potential where we die out because there's not going to be enough to do here, you know?
Yeah. So for somebody who's traveled and worked in different types of countries, do you think that is something that we've been very lucky so far to be able to maintain as a more locally thinking business community, and that in the rest of the world, businesses are open to working outside of their jurisdiction? Is this something that should have always been there?
100%. We've been in the bubble.
Yes.
I mean, let's be realistic. And that bubble is about to burst.
Okay.
And like when I started my business, Easy Payment Gateway, I always thought about serving or offering our services outside of Gibraltar. It was never intended, although luckily we had all the betting companies here, and that was a huge bonus for a payment company because I could serve local companies.
Yes.
But the idea was always to service companies outside of Gibraltar.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, that's what we need to do if we are to survive after the treaty.
That's amazing.
There'll always be a need for local services.
Yes.
And local clients and local companies. But my fear is that removing that barrier of the frontier and opening up of the treaty is that, yes, again, we will have access to them, but they will have access to us. When I say them, I mean Europe in general, okay? They will have access to us as well.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things for me about this interview was that I believe that you are ahead of your time and you have been a forward thinker when you first built your company. So it's great to be able to talk and revisit all of that story with you. When anyone thinks about opening a business or starting something in tech, but they think, I'm not ready, what's the advice you would give them?
I don't think you'll ever be 100% ready.
Yeah.
It just gets to a point where you need to make the decision that you're going to do it. As long as you have a good plan and an understanding of what exactly you want to offer, if it feels right to you and you think, yes, there's a need for this, then just do it. And then you just have to do it. At some point you need to commit and do it. And then once you commit, there's that dedication, the commitment, the sacrifices, and you have to stick to it. If you believe in it, you need to stick to it, and it will work out. But at some point you need to take that jump, you know.
So the last question we always like to ask people is, Alex right now is?
Hungry and satisfied.
But
at the same time.
Equally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and for sharing so much of your knowledge with us today. So to our viewers, I hope you found the advice and knowledge that Alex has shared with us today on Talking Business as helpful and insightful as I did, and seeing what Gibraltar might look like in the future. Thank you so much for joining us.